Guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm talking about all the horror movies I watched in August. So I started off the month with a horror movie called Room 203, which was streaming on Hulu. So this is based on a Japanese novel of the same name, I believe, and it centers on two young women who move into this apartment and they discover that it's haunted, as one does. The haunting affects one roommate over the other, so it leaves the unaffected roommate to basically figure out what's going on and save her friend. Love the concept of this. I was intrigued because it's based on a Japanese story, so I was just expecting that old school, early 2000s, The Grudge feel to it, but it was not that. I found the lead actresses to be the best part of the movie. I found them to be pretty engaging and I really liked them and I wanted to find out what happened to them. But other than that, I felt like the story was pretty generic and cliche. I watched it on Hulu and it's one of those you can throw on in the background while you're doing stuff. Then I watched The Curse from 2022 and let me tell you, I was surprised by how much I liked this because I've heard no one talking about this movie and I think it deserves more love. This was a fantastic werewolf movie. It's a gothic horror about this small village that is basically being plagued by these mysterious deaths. And this guy, he arrives in the town to like help out because all this stuff is happening and this baron, his son goes missing. So they're trying to figure it out. There's a lot going on. This one is dark. The stuff that happens in this film shocked me. Like there's a massacre scene that happens that was so brutal and just the special effects are fantastic in this. There's one particular scene, a transformation scene, that blew me away by how well done it was. It gave me very much similar vibes to The Thing and stuff that happens in that with the body horror. I loved this movie and I think more people need to see it. It was on Hulu. I hope it still is at the time of me filming this video, but it's one of my favorites of the year. Then I checked out Gone in the Night, which is a new thriller starring Winona Ryder. It centers on this couple that go to this Airbnb and when they get there, they realize that it's already occupied by another couple. The other couple lets them stay the night because they've been driving all night, and when Winona Ryder's character wakes up, she discovers that her boyfriend has gone off with the female of this other relationship. So she's like, okay, and then she just leaves and goes home. And then she's like, I really want to know what happened. So she starts looking into it and she discovers that some weird stuff is going on. I would not have finished this movie if it weren't for Winona Ryder. It's bad. It's not good. I was really expecting the Airbnb portion of the story to be a larger part of the story, but it's all done within like the first 5 minutes and then there's like a time jump. It was not what I was expecting at all. We also have Dermot Mulroney, who is good. I like him. But other than that, the story was just dumb. It was not interesting and it was just so ridiculous, the revelations that happen, that I just couldn't take it seriously, but the movie takes itself so seriously. So if the reveal happened and this movie wasn't so serious, I think I would have enjoyed it more. It's just I liked the ideas in this. I didn't like the execution. It's just so over the top and ridiculous and I wish I didn't rent it. Sorry, Winona. Then I watched They Come Knocking from 2019. This is on Hulu and it's about a father, a widower, who takes his two daughters out to the desert to basically pay their last respects to their mom. And they're visited by these weird little kids one night who try to get into their RV and it's creepy. Basically, they get stalked by these kids. They can't leave because they cut their tires and all that shit. Loved the setup of this and the initial like half an hour, 15 minutes when these little creepy kids come and show up outside their RV. It was so creepy, but then it just lost me after that. It became very boring and the characters were making decisions that didn't make sense and I just couldn't get on board with it. Then I watched Incantation, which is on Netflix. This is a found footage horror movie that scared the crap out of me. There's an interesting element to this story where you kind of are asked to become a part of the process, where the main character, she's filming her situation. She is clearly troubled by something that happened in her past. She believes she's cursed and she brings her daughter home from the orphanage because she gave her up years ago because she wasn't fit to take care of her, but now she is. So she's recording the process of welcoming her daughter home, and things start going wrong with her daughter. Her daughter becomes very sick, and this woman is convinced that it's in relation to these events that happened in her past that cursed her. There's like the incantation part of it comes into play a lot, and the main character is speaking to the camera asking you to help her with the incantation to make it stronger. And that shit was freaking me out because it felt real. I was like, am I gonna become possessed? Like, is this an actual incantation that's happening right now? And there's lots of flashing on the screen. And she's like, you don't even have to say it. You can just think it. And like all these things are flashing on the screen. The incantation, the words are flashing on the screen. I'm like, no, I don't want to say it. I don't want to think it, lady. Don't put this on me. I don't want it. And she's a sneaky bitch. I'll tell you that. She's a sneaky bitch. And it was interesting. I really liked it. It creeped me out. It worked for me. I really enjoyed it. And I like that interactive element. It added an extra layer of creepiness to it. And it made me afraid to sleep. I'm not gonna lie. Then I watched, not a horror movie, 13 Lives on Amazon Prime. It's about those boys, those soccer boys in Thailand who got stuck in a cave. That fucking story is insane, by the way. I don't know how they did it, but that movie made me so claustrophobic and I couldn't breathe. Yeah, it's amazing that they were rescued, but I'm not going in caves. You won't find me going into a cave. Then I watched The Shallows from 2016. This is a movie I feel like is a little overlooked as a shark movie, and Blake Lively is an excellent final girl. This centers on Blake Lively's character. She's going out to this beautiful island that's kind of off the grid, and she's surfing there, and when she's there she gets attacked by a shark and she gets stuck on this rock, and she basically has to fight to survive. I think the shark action is great in this, and I love Blake Lively. I think she's really engaging, and she has this like cute little relationship with this seagull that you can't help but feel bad for and like connect with, and it's just weird, but I liked it. Overall, I think this is a really fun shark movie. Then I watched another movie that I think is going to be one of my favorite of the year, and that is You Are Not My Mother. This is a folk horror about a young girl whose mother disappears one night, and when she returns, she's different. She's not the same. This one revolves around the changeling folklore. I thought the atmosphere and dread in this was so just perfect. I really connected with the lead character. She's this lonely girl that's struggling to fit in at school, and she's also struggling with her family life. And the relationship, the mother-daughter relationship, is really unique and interesting, and it's just a sad watch. And I think the changeling aspect of it is a metaphor for mental illness, because the mother, she struggles a lot with her mental health, and it's just an interesting parallel there. It had some really unique effects. The story was just really well told, and I really enjoyed this one. I think that if you love folk horror, you'll love this one. Then I watched The Hatching, which is a Finnish horror from 2022. Why does that sound so weird? So this is another one I think I'm adding to my favorites of the year list. This one is so weird and unique. It's about a young girl who has a mother who's like this popular mommy vlogger, and everything in their life has to be perfect, pristine. So this little girl, she's got a lot on her shoulders, a lot of pressure from her mother to be the best at everything. Then one day this bird basically crashes through their window, and the little girl finds this egg in this bird's nest, and she brings it home to take care of it, and then the egg hatches and this creature comes out of it, and she basically takes care of this creature, and it transforms over the course of the movie, and it becomes a huge part of her life, and things go horribly wrong. I thought it was really unique and weird. It was sad because this little girl is living in an abusive home life. I feel like a lot of kids go through that. I thought it was a unique coming of age story. The monster, I think it was puppetry what they used, and it was so cool and unique, and I really liked it. It was gross, a lot of intense body horror stuff that really grossed me out and shocked me. So if you're into body horror, I think you'll love this one. Then I finally watched Noroi, The Curse. This is a found footage horror that everybody has always recommended to me, and I was like, you know what, finally I'm gonna give it a shot. It is long. It felt long, and it was very confusing at first because it's about all these different stories that seem unconnected, but they're really connected. They all come together in the end. So it's about this guy who examines paranormal experiences and he documents them, and then it just spirals out of control from there. And it's just a really unique documentary style found footage. I think a lot of people have been comparing Incantation to this one, and I do get the similarities. I don't know if I liked it. It could have also been my headspace at the time. I was just exhausted and it felt so long. Then I finally watched Mother, starring Jennifer Lawrence from 2017. And you know what? I surprisingly really liked this movie. So this is about a young woman who is living with her husband in this beautiful farmhouse that she's renovating, and they get visited by these weird strangers who basically just impede on their life. They basically just take over their home, and it just gets worse. And I will tell you, the anxiety I felt watching this movie was just next level, because I could relate to Jennifer Lawrence so much. Like, can you imagine creating this like beautiful, serene space for yourself and having these strangers come in and just walk all over it and destroy it? It was so absolutely horrifying to watch that situation, but also knowing that no one is listening to her, no one is taking her seriously. Her husband is being a fucking weirdo, and he's listening to everybody else but his wife, and you're just like, what is going on? It felt so surreal and dreamlike, and then the climax of this film is insane. It's sad. It's one of the most disturbing things I've ever watched. It was such an interesting experience, and I know it has biblical symbolism and all that shit, which, yeah, when you go back and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It was just weird, man. But I liked it. Then I watched the Andy Baker tape, which is a new found footage horror from this year. It's on Tubi. It's very much like Creep with Mark Duplass. It's about this guy who's a popular YouTuber, and he finds out that he has a half-brother. So he decides that he's going to film his interaction with him when he goes and meets him for the first time. And all starts out well. This guy seems normal, but then things go horribly wrong from there. So I really liked the setup, and I think why this works is the two lead actors are really charismatic and engaging, and I really liked watching their relationship blossom. I think that there's a lot of dread in this because you know that it's going to go wrong, and it's just fun to watch it go wrong. Then I watched Orphan First Kill, which surprisingly I really enjoyed. I'm not a huge fan of the first one. I have no issues against it. I just have only watched it like once and then never again. So this one, I was like, whatever. It seemed fun. I'll just watch it because everybody else is watching it. I want to see how it is, and I was really surprised by it. I was expecting this to be very much a rehash of the first Orphan movie, where we're following Esther from the first movie, who's not actually a little kid. Spoiler, sorry. She's this woman who is a con artist, and she basically finds this family. They have a missing daughter, and she says that she's the missing daughter, and they take her in, and you can imagine it goes wrong, horribly wrong. And there's a lot of twists in this that I was not expecting. I loved the twist and where it went, so the movie becomes something completely different, and you're kind of rooting for Esther in this one, which was really interesting. I love that the twists were taken from real life true crime cases, and even the whole concept of Esther pretending to be this missing girl to this family and moving in with them, that is taken clearly from a real life case. I forget the name of it, but there's an excellent documentary on it called The Imposter. It's such an interesting story and documentary. Highly recommend it. The Orphan has nothing to do with that. The whole beginning element of it very much reminded me of that. I liked Orphan First Kill. I think you should watch it if you're looking for a good fun time. It's entertaining. Then I watched a film that I was not expecting to like as much as I did, and that is What Josiah Saw on Shudder. I will admit, when I see a movie starring Robert Patrick, I don't think it's gonna be good. Not anymore. But I was surprised because this one blew me away. So this story centers on 3 different family members who were going through different points of their lives. Each of them is in a really shitty situation in their life, and they obviously have a lot of baggage from their childhood. Then one day they get this letter that says this big company wants to buy out their family farm. So they all reunite on this farm to try to get that moving because they need the money. And this one, it just shocked me at where it went. There's a lot of taboo stuff in here, which I was not expecting, and it just felt bold. Each story, each character is so interesting, and each story feels like a completely different movie, honestly. Like the second part, which stars Nick Stahl, feels like an entirely different movie, like a crime thriller, but it all comes together in the end, and it worked well for me. I was just so engaged the whole way through that I just loved it. I loved it so much, and I was shocked by how much I loved it. The cast in performances are excellent. They are the shining force of this movie, and then the climax of this film was so shocking and bleak, and it was just completely unexpected, and I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it, guys. I don't want to say too much more. It stuck with me for days. Then I watched Tethered, which is another 2022 horror movie. Did not like this one as much as I wanted to. So this is about a young boy who grows up living off the grid with his mother. He's blind, and she teaches him to stay tethered to the house with this rope so he doesn't go too far into the woods. One day the mom dies, and this boy grows up all on his own, and he's still following her rules, which, by the way, Mom, like, what the fuck? So then one day when this boy is out hunting, he encounters a hunter, and he takes the hunter in, and they kind of bond, and you learn a little bit more about this boy and his story. Then there's some revelations about what's going on in the woods, because you know there's something sinister in the woods, because the mom is like, stay out of the woods. I was bored. I liked the idea, I liked the concept, I was very bored. It was very slow. I thought it had some interesting stuff to it, but it just took too long to get there. The revelation at the end, I was just confused, and it didn't do anything to excite me. I don't know. It's on Tubi though, so you might as well watch it. Then I watched The Seventh Sign from 1988. I remember this movie as a kid, like, scaring me, but I don't think I ever actually watched it. So it stars Demi Moore as a young pregnant woman whose birth will, like, unleash the apocalypse, basically. So it's all about, like, the 7 signs of the apocalypse, and all this shit is going down, and for some reason it's all up to Demi Moore to figure it out. The birth of her first child, which she has wanted for so long, is gonna bring forth the apocalypse, and she has to decide, is she gonna bring this baby into this world? Whatever. This movie is not good. It has some stuff in it. The storyline is just so convoluted. There's so much shit going on, and I was just like, what's happening? I really don't know. Demi Moore is good. She's great. I liked the ending, actually. The ending I thought was powerful. It sat with me, but overall did not like it. Then I watched The Invitation, which is a new horror movie that is basically a retelling of the Dracula's Bride's story. I've seen a lot of negativity about this movie, and I get it, but also I really like this movie. It centers on this young woman who is basically kind of alone in life. Her mom has died, she has no family, so she uses this at-home DNA kit to find out if she has any relatives out there. And she does. She finds out that she's related to this wealthy family in England, and he invites her to come to England to stay at this manor because there's this wedding happening. When she goes there, she meets the head of the house of the manor, whatever he's called, and they connect, they fall in love. So it's basically a romance, a gothic romance. If you know the Dracula story, you know that everything in this story is basically leading up to, it's a vampire story and he's Dracula. You just don't know how it's gonna end and how she's involved in this story. I found it to be very cozy. There's not a ton of blood, there's not a ton of guts and violence. It's not overly scary and horror. It's very rich in atmosphere. The setting is gorgeous. I loved the outfits. It felt very much like Van Helsing from like the early 2000s. It's a little cliche and cheesy, but it's a comfort watch, you know? And I love the lead actress, Natalie Emmanuel, I think her name is. She's from Game of Thrones. The guy who played Dracula, Thomas Doherty, he's really good looking. I couldn't tell if I'd want to, you know, have sex with him or be terrified of him. He's just like, I think he was a good Dracula. I think it's perfect for like newbie horror fans, like young, maybe teenage girls who are getting into it. Like Twilight fans maybe would like this one. Then I finished off the month with Men. Wow. What the fuck? This movie is weird. So it centers on this woman who was in an abusive relationship with her husband. It ended badly, and she heads off to this beautiful house where she's gonna spend some time in the countryside alone. And she encounters a bunch of creepy men along her way in this village, and it just gets really worse for her. I mean, it's clear that there was a lot of messages and symbolism behind this movie. I just didn't like it. I'm sorry. I didn't enjoy it. It's another one that involves like the biblical Adam and Eve stuff. I just didn't like it. And the climax of this movie is insane. And I was just sitting there like, okay, is it done? Like how many times is this gonna happen? But also, like, I get it. It was a well-made movie. The performances were great, especially Rory Kinnear playing all the dudes. It was so creepy and surreal with that. But overall, I was bored and I didn't like what it did. I just didn't like it. I'm sorry. And I really wanted to like this one. I don't know. What are you gonna do? You can't win them all. Anyway, I'm done because I'm sweating and hungry and my dog's gotta pee. So yeah, let me know what movies you watched last month. If you watched any of these, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We are getting into spooky season, folks, and I am working on my spooky season playlist. Let me know what kind of movie watch lists you want me to do for Halloween season because I'm gonna do it. Also, I'm heading to Halloween Horror Nights, so expect a vlog of that maybe if I feel like it. We'll see. I hope you're having a wonderful start to fall. I hope you've had your pumpkin spice. I hope you're watching and reading lots of horror and enjoying yourself. And I will catch you next time, guys. Bye.